internet, it's Katie and welcome back to my channel. We have a special guest today, as you can see. Right over here, we have Piper the cat, who is making a cameo. She might be flitting around in the background. She is just as interested as likely you are in freelancing. All of the tips that I wish that I had known when I got started, how to set your pricing, how to get clients, how to fight imposter syndrome, how to stay inspired, all of those things. And not to unnecessarily bring numbers into this, I just think it's interesting to note that through freelancing, which makes up 2 of my income streams. You guys know I have a whole video on all of my income streams, which I'll link below. But just from 2 of my income streams that have to do with freelancing, I was able to make $70,000 last year. I had no idea going into doing freelance design that I'd be able to make those types of numbers, you know, from home and not even leaving my house. So today I'm gonna show you guys how I did that. And so yeah, let's get into it. Let's have a nice little chat about all things freelance, all things working for yourself, all things making money digitally, online. The first thing I want to tackle is getting inspiration. So where do I find inspiration for my projects? If I'm feeling like I'm in a creative rut with a client or just in general with my social presence, what do I do? Well, there's a few things. So the first thing that I do is I turn to inspiring stories. You guys know I have a podcast devoted to storytelling, so I'm a big sucker for a good story. Getting to know other creatives that have been in the space for a long time, so like 20 plus years, really does wonders for inspiring me. And so I actually discovered this Skillshare course. I love Skillshare, and this video is sponsored by Skillshare. So this course was all about a fellow designer who's been in the trade for 25 plus years, and she focuses on lettering, which you guys know I love. I've been doing a lot of lettering for clients recently, so I loved watching her course, and it's called, I actually have the title right here, it's called Lettering for Brands, Working with Clients to Create Iconic Design, and it focused on the career of Louise Philly, who, like I said, has been doing this for a while. She talked about how she gets inspiration working with clients and her overall design process. I loved hearing from her. It was like a 50-minute course, and I absolutely love Skillshare. I subscribe myself. I pay for it every month. There's so many different courses on there and so many different disciplines that really get you out of that creative rut, keep you inspired. And even though I've been out of school for a little while now, Skillshare is an easy and inexpensive way to keep learning and connect with other curious creatives out there. So definitely check out Skillshare, and the first 1,000 people to use my link in the description box below will get free premium membership. Linked below. Get started with Skillshare. You will not regret it. A few more ways that I get inspiration for my projects. I also go on Pinterest a whole lot, and I search on there. I make mood boards from those images. A little pro tip when you're searching on Pinterest, add the word aesthetic to the end of anything that you're looking up. So like, I don't know, cloud aesthetic, like collegiate aesthetic, like tack on the word aesthetic to the end of anything that you're looking up, and it instantly makes the images in the search so much more like, I don't know, inspiring and less stock imagey. Sometimes you run into like a whole lot of stock imagery on there, or like super corporate looking imagery. And when I want something really inspiring and something for clients, for mood boards and things, I always tack on the word aesthetic to the end of what I'm searching. Another tip, I also save a bunch of things on Instagram. Whenever I see content that I'm inspired by, I add it to a separate folder under my saved. Don't sleep on that feature. It's important because you think you're gonna remember a post that you see, and then you don't. Or if you screenshot, it gets lost in your camera roll, that sort of thing. So make sure you're saving stuff on Instagram. Another tip with inspiration, if you feel like you have like some elements of your project locked in and you feel like you're missing something, like missing a unique font or a background, you know, just a texture for your background to put your stuff on top of, things like that, like little collateral pieces that you either don't have the time to make or just don't really know what you're looking for, I highly recommend Creative Market. It's kind of like Etsy for creatives. So there's a bunch of ready-to-use creative stuff on there, like fonts, background imagery, Procreate brushes, like I said. There's all sorts of things. You can even get like Instagram templates and things on there, like a bunch of different things. I think the misconception with design is that you think you have to do everything, and that's not always the case. I love that on there I can support other creatives and purchase the rights to their products and use them and collaborate almost in a sense without even knowing them. It's kind of cool. Definitely be careful with usage stuff, but if it's something for my personal Instagram or something, it's always really helpful to have just collateral stuff from Creative Market, so I use it often. So those are a few little inspiration tips. I want to move into the nitty-gritty of how to get clients, setting your rate, all that stuff. That's super important. So the second area of business, this is going to be a little bit shorter because I already kind of talked about this at length in one of my previous videos, but I feel the need to bring it up again. Having an organized way of managing your clients, invoicing, contracting, all of those things. And I use Bonsai for this. It's hellobonsai.com. I use this to, like I said, manage my clients, track my income, track my invoices to see if they've been paid, send out reminders if not, draft contracts for the introduction of my projects, all those things. It's the way that I manage all my clients. I can see it in super organized way, which is really important to me, keeping things organized. So having all of that in one place is super, super helpful. So Bonsai is what I use for that. And then also equally as important, making sure that you are keeping track of your finances. I personally have hired an accounting firm to help me with this, and they actually specialize in working with creatives and Instagram people, as I say, because they get the different write-offs, they get the different expenses that influencers and freelancers, make. They're very with it. And I work with Brittany at Countless. I'll link that down below if you guys are looking to find an accountant to work with. She helps me with bookkeeping, she helps me with write-offs, she helps me with just overall tax filing because taxes are way over my head. I'm slowly over the years getting to understand it a bit more, but in the beginning I was so clueless because in every other career that I've ever had, even scooping Italian ice at my first job, taxes were always deducted from each of my paychecks. So I never had to worry about paying taxes at the end of the year or in April. And so working with an accountant who totally gets it saved me so many headaches, my sanity, and then also money because I was unnecessarily spending money on certain things that, I could have been writing this off or whatever. So many things that you have no idea exist. I also personally just financially use a bunch of different apps that I'll talk about at length in a different video. I want to do a whole video just on the finance side, so I'll do that in a little while. But in the meantime, those are the two most important things, I think, in the realm of staying organized with your work. Okay. Tip number 3, how to get clients. Okay, this is a 2-part tip, I'd say. So how to get clients and then how to make sure you are charging fairly for your own well-being and the client's well-being, them getting what they deserve with what you're charging. So number 1 is networking. I've discussed this before, the importance of networking. I think I found the most success in finding clients because I have a network of other graphic design friends and other freelance friends. Because in this line of work, you don't necessarily have coworkers, so to speak. You kind of have to make your own coworkers, if that makes sense. And that means finding people out there in your city or state or even just online. The internet makes this easy. You connect with other graphic designers, other people in your trade, whatever it may be, other freelancers of some sort, and kind of make a little network. You kind of have to slide into some DMs, okay? You have to get out of your little personal bubble and make some friends, which isn't always easy. I know for some people it is really hard, but think of these people not only as your coworkers, but as your support, as your friends. And of course, it can't be one-sided. You can't just go to them to pick their brain all the time. Definitely, it's the same as any friendship, okay? It's should be a two-way street. So keep that in mind. But I've loved forming friendships with other designers over the years because especially the ones that have been doing this for longer than me, it's been really helpful. They've given me a lot of advice. So networking is key, either by sliding in DMs, finding people in your city or state, or also Freelancing Females is this Facebook group that I'm a part of. It's a website and Facebook group. I've talked about this in a previous video, I think, but it's a really great resource because people post jobs on there. So little projects here and there. Someone will post in the Facebook group things like, hey, my sister is opening a bakery. She needs to hire a logo designer. Comment with your portfolio, comment with your rates, etc. It's kind of like a message board of sorts. People also post their dilemmas they're having. If they're having a tricky relationship with a client and need some help navigating it, they'll post stuff like that. So it's really just an amazing support group. You have to apply to be a part of it, I'm pretty sure. I was invited by a friend. You can find it on Facebook or freelancingfemales.co. I don't know what it is actually. I'll put it on the screen. And then one of our favorites, cold DMing. Just sliding in someone's DMs, unabashedly showing your work, presenting yourself as someone that could be an asset to a brand or an individual, etc. So, and what I mean by this is not just sliding in someone's DMs and being like, hi, I'm a 25-year-old designer based in LA and I really want to work with you, or I think that I can help you, etc. It's showing examples, being super visual with what you can actually do for them, because a person is going to open this DM and give it all of 3 seconds before they're like, okay, this is just not what I want to deal with right now. Unless maybe there's like an off chance that they were like looking for someone and it's like a sign from the heavens, like you slid in their DMs at the exact moment they were looking for someone. But oftentimes brands especially get a lot of these messages every day. So you need to set yourself apart. You need to DM this person or brand that you feel aesthetically you could really help them. You kind of are similar in the way that you create, or I don't know, a number of things, or if it's just a dream brand for you. What you can do is you can DM them and say, hi, my name is Katie and I'm a graphic designer. I noticed that you do a lot of this. I think instead you should be doing this. That's a kind of a bold thing to do. Or you can just say like, I've created a few different social posts that I think could really match with your aesthetic and brand. I would really love to work with you. If you have any openings for freelancers, let's set up a call and chat. And so you visually show them ways that you could help improve the quality of their brand. If it's an influencer and you're trying to, I don't know, be their social media manager or something like that, and the influencers are often looking for people like that, don't sleep on working with influencers. Make a few Instagram templates and send it to them and be like, here is something that I could create for you, like for your links and how you're posting on your stories, and I can make your presence better. That's a way that I've personally slid in some DMs in style because there is a right and wrong way to slide into DMs. Also, avoid sending like a 300-word paragraph. Short but sweet. Chances are the person's only going to read the first or second line, so keep that in mind. So the second part of this is, how do I ensure that I'm charging enough? What should my rates be? So there's a few different ways you can charge clients. Personally speaking, I charge my clients in two different ways. There's either hourly, so I charge an hourly rate for whatever we're working on for the project, and I log my hours and charge them at the end of the project for the hours worked. Or you can also charge a fixed rate. So say $500 for this one product or $1,000 for this one product, and it's kind of like a menu item, so to speak. It's also really valuable, I found, to charge a bit upfront. So 10% or 20% of the end fee upfront, that they have the funds for the project or that they are reliable. I always ensure that I contract the people I'm working with. I send them written contracts to make sure I can cover my butt just in case they decide they want to skedaddle on out before the project's done and I had just wasted all that time and energy on something that I'm not getting paid for. Those things are important, but okay, back to how much do you charge? That's what you're here for. That's what you care about. So going back to the previous point of networking, it's important to have, you know, a group of people that you trust in your field to kind of bounce ideas off of in general, but also bouncing rates off of them is super helpful. I'll sometimes just text one of my friends and be like, hey, like I'm doing this project, like, what do you think I should charge? And like, they'll say the same to me. But if you don't have that, if you don't have a community like that yet, it's fine. When you're putting together your rates, it's important to think about a few things. Number one, how much money do you need a month to survive? That is important to consider. Like, how many projects will you need to do in order to pay your rent this month? It's important to keep in mind. You know, make sure that the work that you're putting in generates enough income for you to survive. That is the first thing to consider. Second, consider how long you've been doing said thing. Like for me, I studied graphic design in college, so I do have an education background in it. You don't need that, of course, but I've been, I don't know, editing videos, for example, since 2009. So I've been around the block with this sort of thing. I have the experience, so therefore I can charge more than maybe someone with no experience. So consider that, consider how many of these things you've made, consider your portfolio and what people will spend. You know, put yourself in the person's shoes that is going to buy this from you and think about what they can afford. But don't dwell too much on that, because your time and your skill is worth money, okay? It's worth spending top dollar for someone that will accomplish this client's goal in record time, or, you know, think about all of those factors. Freelancing Females also offers this like spreadsheet where you can see how much people charge in various parts of the world. It's super helpful, I've found, but it is kind of all over the place. Like, people charge all sorts of things, and it's important to get the scope of the project though before you narrow down on a number. I don't list my numbers, my prices on my portfolio site for a reason, because sometimes they do depend on the scope of the work. Well, they always do for the most part. It's like you have a ballpark range, but some logos require more time than other logos, and you need to remember that. So always set up a kickoff call with your client before you give them a number. A lot of times potential clients will email you and say, how much do you charge for a logo? And you know, if they are adamant on getting pricing, I'll give them a range, and then I'll say, let's set up a kickoff call so I can hear what you're really looking for, and then I can give you a more solid quote. So that is important, very important. I learned that the hard way. Signing up for a fixed rate logo, and up front I gave them a number that was just way too low considering how much time ended up going into the logo. And once you get more experience and have more portfolio items to show for what you do, increase your rates. Keep increasing your rates as you get better, as you get quicker, as your skill increases. And don't do anything for free, okay? Don't do anything for free unless it's charity work or something for a friend that you really want to do for free out of the goodness of your heart, but don't work for free. Something that I discovered this past spring, or I guess, yeah, spring of last year, was creating a subscription piece to sell. So in freelancing, the best thing possible is making some sort of consistent revenue stream. And what I mean by that is something that is subscription-based, something that people are constantly paying you for, or something that is pre-created and just up for sale on your website. You don't have to constantly put work into it because it's already created, it's already kind of standalone, and you're selling this product. So that's a passive income stream. I would say subscription income stream can be passive, but in my case of having my Patreon, that's where I'm going with this, that's definitely more of an active revenue stream. It's not extremely passive, some elements are, but for the most part, it's pretty active. I'm constantly uploading content on there, but it's at my own pace, my own schedule, and people just subscribe to see this content. My Patreon is dedicated to a few things. It's dedicated to education, little tutorials here and there on how I do things and how other creatives do things. I hired some contributors to help me. It's also a source of inspiration. It's a source of just fun downloads, like I do a wallpaper every month and I do like 30 different variations of the wallpaper. So every person in the community can find something they love. It's really fun for me, and it's also a way for me to get pretty consistent income each month. Patreon is a huge part of that $70,000 a year that I made last year just freelancing, just doing 2 different income streams, just doing design. That doesn't count my influencing and the other things that I do. I hate the word influencing. The social media stuff that I do, the other stuff, YouTube, this podcast, all that. So yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So making consistent income, like I said, there's, active and passive. A goal of mine for this year / next year, I'm not gonna put a timestamp on it, but I wanna make some passive income streams in the form of an ebook or a course that people can take. Oh, the cat just like walked in front of the camera. Passive income streams are great because you can just list these things on places like Etsy, on Creative Market, like I said, or on your own standalone website, a Shopify sort of thing, and people can purchase these things whenever they want. And it's not something where you're on a deadline, you already created the thing, it's already out there, and people just buy it at their own leisure if they want to. Like I said, ebooks, courses, things like that, it's really, really smart for long term, especially if there's something that's pretty evergreen and that's always relevant. The last tip that I want to offer is in the realm of how do we fight the fear of failing? How do we fight imposter syndrome, burnout, feeling like we are not good enough to be freelancers? Because it happens, believe me, all the time. I feel like freelancing is a series of highs and lows, like any job, but being your own boss and working a lot of times by yourself gives you a lot of time to get in your own head about things and convince yourself that you are not good enough to be a freelancer, that people shouldn't hire you, those sorts of things. And I can say a million times, it's just you getting in your own head, but I know it's easier said than done to snap yourself out of these things. So I have a few different tips on fighting these feelings. Number 1, remind yourself, remember why you started. Why did you want to go freelance anyway? Why did you ever pick up a pen and start doodling? Why did you, design your first logo? Why do you care about fonts? Those sorts of things. Ask yourself why you started. Remind yourself of the feeling of getting your first client and how excited you were. Just remind yourself of those things. Give yourself a nice little supercut highlight reel of all of the great times you've had freelancing. Remind yourself of those things, and before long you'll forget about what you were even torn up about. Second tip in this realm is stay busy creating. Create something every day, even if it's a doodle on the back of a napkin or, I don't know, just any sort of thing that keeps you inspired. Something for your Instagram feed, something for your design Instagram. I have 2 different Instagrams. I have my personal one, and then I have my design Instagram, which I'm constantly zhuzhing up and making beautiful, and it takes my mind off of, the fact that I don't have a client project to work on this week, and I'm nervous about when I'm gonna get my next one, and all those fears. Keep pumping out content for your portfolio. As you keep revamping your portfolio, it just makes you feel even more confident in your work. Remind yourself of past projects you've done. You know, how can you revamp this project you did a year ago? Keep yourself busy. And the last concept, this is how I'm gonna close the video, because believe me, I think we all need to get back into work. I gotta get back into my emails. Rome was not built in a day. It was not built in 3 days. It was not built in 3 months. Probably not even 3 years. I actually don't know the timeline of how long it took to build Rome. The seeds that you're planting right now, those seeds, you know, the various little courses you're taking on Skillshare, or the initial client meetings you're having, the first logo you're creating, these are all little tiny baby seeds that you're planting in the soil, and you can't keep digging up the seeds to check on the progress. You can't keep pulse checking every 5 seconds, because the seeds need a chance to grow and grow and grow and grow into a beautiful, gigantic forest, okay? Every single thing you're doing, even, you know, just downloading a new Procreate brush that you're doodling with on your iPad, or you know, learning a new font that you really love. These are all little baby seeds, but they will lead to something so much greater. As you're doing these things, you are growing, you are developing skills that will come in handy, and that will lead to you increasing your rates, and eventually you'll be amazed at the success that you'll get. But you just have to keep going. You have to keep going and growing, and not, like I said, digging up the seeds before they've had a chance to grow. So keep that in mind. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is your career. So that's the truth. So guys, that was my video. I hope you all enjoyed this video all about freelancing. Like I said, I want to do some more. I want to do one devoted to finances. I want to do, I don't know, maybe like a design with me process video of my process start to finish with clients. I don't know, anything you guys can think of, comment below, and I will try my best to create it for you. I'm trying to be consistent with YouTube. It's been a struggle. I have so many different things, of course, like we all do, but like, yeah, I need to get back into a consistent upload schedule. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for sticking with me, everyone, and watching this video, and I will talk to you guys all in my next one. Bye.